with the blink of an eye. If you spam certain magic, you can cast a super strong version of that spell that decimates whatever's in front of you, and eventually you unlock links, which are basically summons. You can call up your Dream Eater from Dream Drop Distance, go for a magical swim with Ariel, or set everything on fire with Simba. They cost a lot of magic, but most of the time the enemies you kill end up dropping mana that refills your magic bar, so you can get right back to your wrecking session with Ralph, although I didn't think it was that great of a summon. Finally, you can call upon these special attractions where you make a quick stop to Disneyland and spawn all sorts of shit. A swinging pirate ship, blistering fast teacups, a water slide, a bumper car fitted with a gun, and a magical carousel? Jesus. And there's still the option of creating meals with Remy from Ratatouille, because with this generation, every game used to have food that gives temporary buffs, and I wish they looked so damn delicious. But you can easily find ingredients for specific meals across every world, mainly because Donald and Goofy never shut their goddamn yaps on over this ingredients nearby. And by completing some simple QTEs, you can make some 3-star entrees that increase health, strength, magic, the whole package. However, if you have to make cracking an egg a QTE, you probably shouldn't be a chef, Sora. If you can't crack an egg, I sure as shit wouldn't let you attempt to make a flambe. This is, without a single doubt in my mind, the easiest Kingdom Hearts game in the series, whether it's Heartless, Snow Buddies, or the unversed that show up in one world and kind of disappear after that. The large and imposing bosses, the encounter with Davy Jones and his ship, the Titans and Olympus, nothing really stands a chance. And for the record, I played the game in proud mode for this review, the highest difficulty setting, and I still managed to breeze through this son of a bitch. If you're looking for a challenge to deliberately activate the skill where you gain no experience, you won't find it here. Given the ridiculous amount of options you have against enemies, it is insanely hard to die in this game. And there's even ways to counter that. You can purchase a special item from the Moogle shop that saves you from death one time, and it's a pretty cheap item. Should you get a game over, the game allows you to better prepare yourself without the need to reload your save file. Things are so heavily skewed in your favor in this game that it can get pretty boring. Heartless in this game are fodder to the nth degree. Once I unlocked the Simba summon, regular enemies were just experience points that showed up when I exploded the room for the 64th time. Bosses are the better experience as I expected, but even they don't take much to bring down because of how much you have at your disposal. In fact, the only bosses where I had any remote amount of trouble with was this flying dude in the Caribbean because of the different stipulations thrown at me, and the Wind Titan because of how aerial combat can be rather awkward to execute when trying to attack and maneuver at the same time. I figured post-game would give me more to do, but this game doesn't really have a post-game, and that's shocking. I mean, you still have these battle gates that are kind of like the Coliseum battles, but since you have access to all your tools, these are literally no different than normal encounters, and there's only one optional super boss, and I struggle to even call him that because this dude is no Sephiroth or Lingering Will, and design-wise, it's kind of lame. You can use your camera to locate all those lucky emblems if you want to kill the time. You can play some mini-games, whether it's sledding down mountainsides, these Game & Watch-inspired games that lose their appeal in no time given how overly simplistic they are. Or you can play one of the handful of games given to you by these friendly flans. But the main reason you likely do these at all is to get synthesis items to help you make the best weapons and armor in the game. But this time, you got nothing to use them on. No data rematches, no real Coliseum, no other optional bosses. These are just bragging rights. Ridiculous bragging rights because the Ultimate Weapon Keyblade is so absurd in this game, but it's a glorified trophy. I hate to say this, but there's something about Kingdom Hearts 3 that feels undercooked, and that's disappointing. I feel the game doesn't give you enough to do with how versatile you can make your character to be, whether it's all the movement upgrades or the overabundance of offensive options at your disposal. Granted, I didn't get overly bored. I quite enjoyed myself, actually, but damn, I'd be lying if I said my brain didn't turn off about midway through. If there's a game that I feel could really benefit from a final mix, it's this game. But I wish the package was fantastic as is. I would want it to supplement an already awesome game and not so much fill the gaps. This game is still great, but I'm sorry, Kingdom Hearts 2 Final Mix is still the better and more fulfilling game in my eye. Sure, you may not be able to summon pirate ships and roller coasters on a whim, but I think Kingdom Hearts 2 not only gave you more to do with your combat utility, but it also did a better job challenging you to make it more effective in the heat of the moment, especially against foes like the organization. Assuming you couldn't give a rat's ass about the story, I'd say, you know what, this is probably the best game to start with. The game is a visual spectacle from beginning to end, and if feeling like an unstoppable god with Disney characters by your side is what you want to experience, Kingdom Hearts 3 has got you covered in then some. I mean, damn. For something we've been waiting a long time for, I'd say Kingdom Hearts 3 scores a good grade. At times I feel there's too much emphasis on style over substance, but the game is still fun throughout. But I probably won't revisit it unless it gets much more meat in its bones. Either way, if you've been looking forward to this game like many others, I hope it's everything you want it and then some. From what I read, it's one of the fastest selling games in the franchise, and it's got folks talking, for better or worse. So if there's a time to jump in and be a part of that conversation, that time is now. So go ahead, have a good time. There's certainly good times to be had. Well, I got one more video to do before I head into the next marathon, so I'll catch you guys next time. Thank you all for watching, have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. Oh. Shit. quietly. These are some of my favorite missions to do because there was nothing more satisfying than luring a crook away from the crowd and then webbing him up to subtract 1 from the total count. I just hope there's air holes in these traps. I swear sometimes leading these guys to a painful death via asphyxiation. Some things require a little more finesse, like the time challenges given to you by this dude named Taskmaster. I really like how they handle this guy too. After completing a handful of his challenges, he just pops in with no warning and forces you into a fight to test your abilities, and he kicked the living shit out of me. But that's cool, that just made me want to complete his challenges and fight the dude in retaliation. Nobody kicks Spider-Man off the roof and gets away with it. Outside of combat, there's a crapload of other things you can do just by swinging around. You can find old backpacks that contain random items that Spider-Man comments on, leading to some nice world building and some good humor. You can uncover more of the map by heading to these towers on top of police stations and reconfiguring their signals. There's these research stations that give you tokens for extra unlockables. You can snap photos of famous landmarks and earn extra experience points. This game is exploding with what I consider the standard busy work. The kind of stuff that isn't required to complete the story, but is there to help pad out the complete experience. It should only take you a couple of days to finish the story if you just focus on the main missions. Everything else is up to your discretion, and that's fine. The campaign is still a healthy 14 to 16 hours without doing any side missions, and I'd rather something like pigeon hunting to be completely optional because what the hell am I doing here? I'm chasing pigeons. Is this something Peter Parker does a lot in the comics? No matter what you do, there's always incentive. From experience you can earn to acquire skill points that you can use to unlock new abilities or upgrades to your gadgets, and the more side stuff you complete, the more tokens you can earn to help unlock extra costumes that also come with their own bonus abilities. Personally, I love the Spider-Bro ability that came with the Stark suit. Once the meter filled up, I got this cool little spider drone that tastes the fuck out of everyone that was close by. Really handy against those chunky fellows that can take extra punishment, although once you upgrade your abilities enough, there's like 50 ways to deal with enemies in Spider-Man, and that kind of versatility goes a long way. In fact, for as much as I hated Screwball, her missions where you're limited to using certain combinations of gadgets really highlighted the kind of unique and satisfying ways you can take care of mobs en masse. So you don't just have to, air combo everything until the cows come home. Still, got a couple of things that didn't mesh well with me, though. There's several instances between cutscenes where you're just waiting for the next mission objective to appear, often signified by a phone call with whoever's relevant at the time. This isn't too bothersome since I do enjoy web-slinging so much, but it did feel odd waiting for things to progress. I love how J. Jonah Jameson is now a podcaster that constantly shits on Spider-Man and whatever's happening at the moment, and I love listening to him ramble, but these segments are given to us in real time, and if I don't want to interrupt these with a story cutscene, because I'm on my way to the next objective, I have to slow things down until the session stops. This can also apply to those small dialogue exchanges between Spider-Man and company that might happen after getting the next objective. It's usually flavor text, but they can also be fun character exchanges. I can't listen to them all, though, without slowing down. I think they slightly underestimated just how fast you can get to your next destination, and figured you had more than enough time to listen in on the conversation, which wasn't always the case. There's a couple of times where you switch to Mary Jane or Miles for some story-driven sections. Usually, it's some sort of stealth section or investigation segment, and they just shit all over the pace. Individually, they're just fine, but compared to the sheer intensity of things you do as Spider-Man, I think it clashes. Now, I love me some good stealth gameplay, but this is a little limiting for my liking. At least with MJ, she gets a stun gun later and knocking out unsuspecting thugs is pretty cathartic. Miles doesn't really get something like that. He just hacks things from a distance to cause distractions. It doesn't have the same impact. But it's not as if Spider-Man doesn't have his oddball moments as well. Sometimes the game likes to emphasize Peter Parker instead of Spider-Man, and that's cool. I appreciate the dichotomy. When he's not kicking ass, he's a good-natured scientist with a genius-level intellect, I get it. But most of Peter Parker's gameplay consists of him doing these wiring puzzles and line-matching minigames. You get experience points and tokens for completing these, so at the end of it, it's Spider-Man that reaps the rewards. And they're not terribly complicated or overly long for that matter, but again, they clash so hard with everything else you do as the guy. However, they only make up small moments in what's otherwise a remarkably solid action-adventure game. Yeah, it's nothing the Arkham games haven't done already. This is simply Spider-Man's swing at the formula. But you know what? Sure. Who cares? It's nothing new, but it does what it does well, only instead of the Cape Crusader, you're the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man who can high-five the locals. The story is run-of-the-mill, and yet it's easy to get into. The main campaign is filled with a ton of things to do with a good dose of variety to keep things from getting monotonous. And I don't mean the MJ and Miles stuff I mentioned earlier, I'm talking strictly the Spider-Man stuff. There's a lot of different things you do with him and him alone, and that's great. The humongous amount of costumes and gadgets to unlock give all the side stuff added purpose besides giving you a higher completion rating, and the game is just bursting at the seams with personality and humor. I still don't think I'll pick up a Spider-Man comic after playing this, but I love Spider-Man in this regardless. It's great to say that the best thing about Spider-Man is Spider-Man. Insomniac Games did good, so you should consider picking it up. It is a PS4 exclusive, just a heads up, so hopefully you got one if you want to take a shot. Now then, I think it's finally time we begin another marathon. It's been a while since I gave this series a revisit. I want to say 6, 7 years, right around there. But the adventure continues next time. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. Hey, before I end this video, I want to thank you folks for helping me recently break 350,000 subs. It's a year-end goal for me to break 400,000. And you guys have been doing a magnificent job showing your love and support by watching the videos, sharing them with your peers. I can't thank you enough for that. So again, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for helping this channel grow. I'll catch you guys next time. scenes here is a super powerful trainer that is confusingly obsessive with throwing balls at your face. I don't know, maybe it makes more sense in the manga, but I don't want to read the manga. Pokemon get chopped in half in the manga. For as much as Let's Go painfully sticks to the game's roots in terms of the region's core design, there was effort placed here to make progression more streamlined. There are more instances where your rival, gym leaders, and other outside encounters help guide you to your next destination, while at the same time making the story feel more connected. You know, looking back, stopping Team Rocket in the original game felt extremely incidental, like it's just something you happen to do while gathering your gym badges. But Let's Go makes them more of a nuisance to justify their importance in the story. It's nuance that I think only veterans can probably appreciate the most, and they're likely going brain dead from the repetitious battles, but I still admire the extra detail. And you know, if you love Generation 1, I mean, it's nearly got all the beats with some much-needed fat trimming. And by that I mean, no more HMs needed for progression. Yeah, I know HMs have been phased out since Gen 6, but for Kanto, come on man, this is damn near groundbreaking. You no longer have to worry about having a Pokemon slot taken for the sole purpose of cutting trees or pushing rocks or lighting up a cave. Your Pokemon pal can now do all of that without having to learn any new moves. God, this is what it should have been since day one. I always wondered why the trainer never got any sort of permanent tools to travel across water and whatnot, and originally it was supposed to be that way if you look back at prototypes of Gen 1. But no, they insisted on HMs, and they always sucked, and I'm not looking forward to going back a few generations for future videos solely because of this, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. But you know, now if you want to fly to a previous area, you ride a balloon ship. If you want to travel in water, you ride a surfboard. That's how it should have been, and I'm so glad Let's Go does it this way, except for the bicycle exclusion. You don't get a bike in Let's Go for reasons I'll never understand. If you want faster movement, you need to ride a Pokemon. But you can't ride every Pokemon, although I'd love to fast travel on a Pidgey just for the visual humor alone. You can only ride on certain Pokemon, so I hope one of your favorites is eligible, otherwise you're wasting a slot on just having a ride bitch. And shit, maybe they didn't learn anything from HMs after all. Kanto isn't completely the same as you might remember it. Celadon City doesn't have the game corner anymore. I mean, it's still there, but you can't play on the machines any longer. Apparently it had something to do with gambling laws overseas, so I hope you don't mind that change. I never care for the slot machines personally. I'm glad I can just find a Porygon in the grass now, call me mundane. Since the whole game is one giant Safari Zone now, the actual Safari Zone in Fuchsia has been replaced with the Go Park, where you can link your Pokemon Go account with your Let's Go file. From here you can transfer your Pokemon, at least the ones from Kanto, into the Switch and either watch them frolic in the park, or you can catch them and add them to your roster. Not a bad idea, really. I like it. It's a good way to get Pokemon not available in your version of the game. For instance, since I got Let's Go Eevee, I can't get Growlithe, meaning I can't get Arcanine, one of my favorite fire types. I mean, yeah, I suppose there is the Arcanine you can get from this lady by catching 5 Meows, but it's not the same, it's not mine. But in my Go account, I got a surplus of Growlithe, so now I can just bring them aboard. Strangely, well, okay, I don't know why I say strangely, it's because Game Freak wants you to buy Sun and Moon. You can also migrate Alolan versions of certain Kanto Pokemon, so rejoice, you can get your Icy Vulpixes or your fat-headed Persians into Let's Go just fine. I'd consider migrating an Alolan Raichu to my file, but I already got my Raichu for this game, and she ain't going anywhere. And I love how the game lets you have one of your Pokemon follow you around. That was one of the best things they introduced in Heart Gold and Soul Silver, and they haven't done it again until now. Can this just be a feature for the rest of time? It's a small thing, but I enjoy seeing my favorite Pokemon tag along and getting stuck between chairs and couches. Christ, Raichu, suck it in, baby! Mechanically, I would still say Fire Red and Leaf Green are the more fulfilling Generation 1 remakes, if only because they're not complete walk in the parks like these games are, and thus don't feel as mindless, but as games designed to reel in the Pokemon Go crowd who are likely more casual than loafers. I'd say these are perfect introductory courses. I find some of the simplification a bit overkill, seeing that Pokemon has already been getting easier and more streamlined with each passing generation, but I can see young kids and parents picking this up and having fun going on an adventure together. Although parents will probably wonder when it would fucking end. These are RPGs after all. 2 players can join in at once and decimate opponents together. You can still trade and battle between friends locally and through the online service, and you get some added benefits for having a Pokemon Go account. If you end up enjoying Let's Go, I strongly recommend you consider picking up some of the older stuff to get a more traditional experience. I'll pick up Sun or Moon. I think these are legitimately fulfilling games, just to jump the cut on that opinion there. Who knows when I'll get to the 3DS games, so I might as well tell you what I think about them now while they're being brought up. But okay then, I think my Pokemon muscles are nice and relaxed. I'm ready to begin this marathon proper, so next time we're going to jump back to the Game Boy Advance with Pokemon Generation 3. And it's my first time jumping into the Hoenn region, the region I completely skipped over last time. Here's hoping it's great. Who knows? Opinions all over the board with this one, so, whew. But anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Thank you all for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic night, and take care. I can't help but feel I'm forgetting something, though. Yeah, it'll come back to me later. Was it? No. I feel like there's a cliffhanger I didn't resolve. Oh! Of course. I didn't start round 2 yet. I should probably get to that.